That's why the Emmys matter. So finally, at long last, I want to get to the Emmys. The Emmys did not get great ratings last night. They did not get terrific ratings because they're not very good. Nobody watches these award shows anymore. And they still get huge ratings against other TV. But this was a very, very low-rated Emmys. Part of that is because people are alienated by culture being used to foment politics. Part of it is because all the TV shows that are now being rewarded are TV shows that a lot of people have never seen. Right? Nobody watched The Handmaid's Tale. I mean, in terms of relative numbers, nobody watched The Handmaid's Tale. The shows that were up for awards were Westworld, basically, Handmaid's Tale, and the other one now was Stranger Things. Those were the three that were up for a lot of awards last night. Handmaid's Tale basically swept, and it swept because of politics. So people were not going to tune in to watch a bad book become a bad TV series and then get awarded a lot. So the politics made a difference. This is the thing that Hollywood really doesn't understand. If they were a little bit less overt in their politics, they'd actually be much more effective in shifting the cultural debate. But it's the culture war that truly matters, right? People like Trump because they hate the Emmys. People like Trump because they hate Stephen Colbert. People like Trump because they hate what they saw last night with a bunch of rich, puffed up, arrogant elitists who suggest they know best for the rest of America while living in their palatial estates off of Sunset Boulevard and avoiding their taxes by banking offshore. Now on to the Emmys. So Stephen Colbert opens up the Emmys, and he opens with this musical number. This is everything. This is everything that Americans like about Trump because they hate this. They hate this from Hollywood. They're sick of being lectured. They're sick of being told that they're wrong. They're sick of being told that they're rubes. They're sick of being told that there's no such thing as gender. They're sick of being told that gender is a construct in the mind. They're sick of being told that America is a backwards place for women and black people. They're sick of being lectured. That's what Hollywood does. Again, the whole thing is a rip on the news, right? So the news is terrible. The news is what about people who think the news isn't that terrible? Right? I mean, like there's like half the country that thinks that the news isn't like, it's not, the stock market's up, right? I mean, like people are getting their jobs back. This idea that everything is garbage and that we're all going to die, there's not a lot of evidence of that. And then we finally get to the end of this. And I don't know if we can fast forward to the graphic where we have The Handmaid's Tale. At the very end of this little musical number, he brings out a bunch of people to dance for The Handmaid's Tale. And it's a bunch of people in basically spandex lingerie outfits, including a bunch of dudes, right? Because transgenderism, yay! So if you're watching this at home and you're annoyed by this, and every 5 seconds there's a Trump joke, you're like, okay, well, listen, if I have to choose between Hollywood and Trump, I'll choose Trump. The cultural issues matter. And Hollywood needs to understand this because if they were smart, what they would do is shut up. If Hollywood were smart, they would shut up. They really would. They would go back to making entertaining things without a lot of the political messaging. The reason being, they are providing Trump the wall to bounce up against, right? Trump is rubber. He's a rubber ball. And he just bounces up against things. And if he bounces up against Hollywood, the rest of the American people will bounce right with him. They don't like Hollywood. We like to watch it. That doesn't mean we like you. Right? We like to watch Floyd Mayweather box too, but he's a jerk. That doesn't mean we like you. And if we're forced to choose between Floyd Mayweather and anyone else, we'll choose anyone else. And if we're forced to choose between the Hollywood morality and anyone else, we'll choose anyone else. So the opening musical number wasn't even the bad part, right? That was pretty mild stuff. Then we got to Colbert's opening monologue, and his opening monologue really was pathetic.
Of course, there's no way anyone could possibly watch that much TV other than the president, who seems to have a lot of time for that sort of thing. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to the tweets.
Okay, so he made a bunch of Trump jokes all throughout the evening. It never stopped at any point. And then they brought out at one point Sean Spicer to mock Trump and to mock himself. So Spicer was, of course, played by Melissa McCarthy, who won an Emmy last night for playing Spicer. Alec Baldwin won an Emmy for playing Trump. Kate McKinnon won an Emmy for playing Hillary. So basically everyone won an Emmy for playing the part of political people, which just demonstrates the merger between politics and entertainment, right? That we only care about if we have to choose between Alec Baldwin and Donald Trump wins that battle every time. In any case, in the middle of this, Sean Spicer is brought out to make a joke about himself, and the left loses their minds over this.
Sean, do you know?
This will be the largest audience to witness an Emmys, period, both in person and around the world.
Okay, so again, what's funny about this, listen, I think it's funny that he did this. I think that it's funny that Sean Spicer participated. Although I've objected in the past to all of these politicians participating. If we're going to do it, this is funnier than Obama just showing up on random shows or Biden showing up on random shows, because he is the butt of the joke. The left went nuts over this. They went crazy. Again, culture wars matter more than politics. The culture war matters. Sean Spicer comes out, makes a joke about himself. He's mocking himself here, right? He's mocking his whole Trump had the biggest audience in history shtick from the inauguration. And what's the upshot? Melissa McCarthy says she was insulted that he stole her joke. Really? People on the left were insulted that Sean Spicer had been normalized. These are the same people who say that Chelsea Manning is a hero. These are the same people who say that Chelsea Manning, Vice ran a headline today that said Chelsea Manning is the purest soul on the internet. What in the hell? But these are the people who say Sean Spicer must never be normalized. Ben Rhodes, who's national security advisor under President Obama and who blatantly lied about the Iran deal to the American people for years. He said, how could we normalize Sean Spicer? Again, culture wars, culture wars. And then it gets worse. Jane Fonda, right? The lady who sat on a Viet Cong gun, a North Vietnamese army gun, pointed at American soldiers. And Lily Tomlin, they show up to mock President Trump and do a 9 to 5 routine.
Well, back in 1980 in that movie, we refused to be controlled by a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot. Really. And in 2017, we still refuse to be controlled by a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
Oh, so much courage. So much courage. Wow, you refuse to be... Well, frankly, he doesn't care about you. When is he trying to control you? What did he do? Again, this is what Hollywood doesn't understand. Their culture war makes this into a culture war, not a political war. And then Kate McKinnon gets up, and she's the one who played Hillary Clinton at the on SNL. And you'll recall that she actually sang Hallelujah after Hillary Clinton lost, like a weepy Hallelujah tribute to Hillary Clinton, because it's so clear she wanted Hillary to win. Okay, she gets up and she thanks Hillary Clinton. I don't remember Chevy Chase thanking Gerald Ford for playing Gerald Ford. Here's Kate McKinnon.
Thank you to Fern and Suze, my LA moms. Thank you, Jack. I love you. What else? Thank you. On a very personal note, I want to say thank you to Hillary Clinton for your grace and grit. And thank you, my mother and sister. I'm so proud of you, Mom. I love you.
Okay, thanking Hillary Clinton on a personal note. Thank you so much. Okay, this is why the ratings are low for the Emmys. It's why culture is not only losing its impact, it's losing its voice.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The Emmy Awards aired last night in prime time. If you didn't watch, you weren't alone. And by the way, we don't judge. Even by the usual standards of show business, last night's show was a remarkable triumph of identity politics over art and entertainment. Even before it began, an actress called Issa Rae told reporters she was planning to judge the nominees solely on the basis of their skin color without reference to their talent or achievement. And she wasn't the only one.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody black.
I want to thank Trump for making black people #1 on the most oppressed list. He's the reason I'm probably up here.
Those comments didn't seem to raise an eyebrow, but of course they didn't. It's 2017, and so we're used to open race hostility from the left, so used to it that many of us no longer even notice. The entire show was like that. It came closer to political indoctrination than entertainment. Here's a selection.
Unlike the presidency, Emmys go to the winner of the popular vote.
I suppose I should say, at long last, Mr. President, here is your Emmy.
Imagine if your president was not beloved by Nazis.
And in 2017, we still refuse to be controlled by a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
So celebrities are liberal. They don't like Trump. Whatever, that's fine. In fact, it's normal. That's not what is striking here. Last night's show wasn't really about Trump. It was an expression of the contempt America's ruling class has for the rest of the country, for the zip codes they don't live in. The middle class elected Donald Trump last November. Last night, Hollywood denounced them for doing it. But don't kid yourself. You could have heard the exact same contempt for middle America at any Google board meeting or Facebook employees retreat, or for that matter, at any bar in Washington where fundraisers from both parties regularly gather. What we're watching now is no longer longer a debate between conservatives and liberals. It's an unbridgeable divide between those who've reaped the massive benefits of global capitalism and the rest of the country, which has not. The winners justify their immense wealth and power by imagining they deserve it. They're simply better and more deserving than everyone else. The people beneath them deserve what they get, too. They're disgusting. How do you know they are? They voted for Donald Trump. So that's what's really going on here. Dismissing Trump voters as evil allows those actors on stage last night, not to mention tech moguls in boardrooms and the entire political establishment here in D.C., to sustain the current, very warped system and still believe they're not just good people, but the very best people. Last night's show also exposed something else. Many of America's most famous artists aren't really artists. They're hacks. Their shows are dumb. Their art is crap. They're not impressive. John Oliver's weekday sanctimony fest won Best Variety Series? In what world? An utterly distorted world. A place warped by ideology where political imperatives supersede art. A place where everybody has to pretend that Ta-Nehisi Coates writes well. A country in which the wooden stupidity of The Handmaid's Tale is ignored because the story's message is just so very important at a critical time like this.